This isn't a regular drone, it's the brand new DJI Avata 360, and it has completely changed the way I film mountain biking. My first few flights were an absolute disaster until I realized I was flying it completely wrong. Oh, I crashed it. When I got this drone, I set myself an impossible goal: film one long epic chase cam shot of my entire backyard mountain bike trail. And when I saw the FPV goggles and motion controller, I thought, hell yeah, this was going to be easy. This is a story of how I failed successfully. I might not have captured my dream shot, but I ended up with something far better. Hopefully that looks mad. Getting complex drone shots of mountain biking is a challenge. Flying fast through tight trees is already hard enough, but trying to keep the rider perfectly in frame at the same time is almost impossible. And this is where the Avata 360 is supposed to make things easier. It has two cameras that capture a full 360-degree sphere in 8K resolution. And if you haven't worked with 360-degree footage before, it's pretty simple. The camera sees everything, and you can use the DJI Studio to reframe your footage afterwards and show whatever you like. Then you can add keyframes to program camera movements, and suddenly your boring drone video becomes a lot more interesting. So now you understand how the drone works, let's go capture that drone shot. And I should mention, DJI sponsored this video and sent me the Avata 360 to test, but if they wanted me to be gentle with it, they definitely sent it to the wrong guy. This drone can be flown like any other drone with a regular controller, but I'm more excited to fly it with the FPV goggles and motion controller. The goggles let you see exactly what the drone sees, and the motion controller allows you to fly the drone just by moving your hand. It's kind of like a joystick. You tilt it left and right to steer, pull back to go up, push forward to go down, and it has a trigger for speed. I'd never flown an FPV drone before, and honestly, I found this setup really intuitive. This has to be one of the easiest ways for a beginner to get into FPV flying. It is a lot of fun, and I was immediately flying through tight gaps that I would never attempt with my regular drones. The ease of use gave me a false sense of security, and that chase shot I had in my head suddenly felt pretty possible. So it was time to give it a crack. Before we hiked all the way to the top, I thought it would be good to practice on a small section of trail first. And, well, it was a disaster. For reference, this is an FPV drone chase shot, and it's the sort of thing I had in mind for my dream shot. All right, goggles on. All right, you ready? Good when you are. This is what I see in the goggles, and my goal was to chase my mate Dean to the bottom of the trail. Oh my God, I'm terrible. I'm terrible. All right, this is gonna be harder than I thought. The obstacle avoidance was beeping like crazy and slowing the drone down, which made it harder to keep up with Dean. Although on the plus side, it was stopping me from crashing. I think I have to turn the sensors off and just maverick it. Just get rowdy. Yeah. So now with the sensors turned off, the drone wouldn't automatically stop if I was about to crash into a tree. All right, ready when you are. I crashed it straight away, first tree. Far out. So I had my first crash, but the drone was completely fine. And for some reason, I was still feeling overly confident. How was that? Did you see that gap I just flew through? I'm doing stupid stuff. Oh my God. That first crash was quickly followed by a second and a third. I'm so bad at this. I crashed it again. Oh my God, this is so hard. I should have done it on a wider section of trail. As bad as this was for my confidence, it was actually a pretty good test of how strong the drone is. It had hit trees, bounced off the ground, crashed into bushes, and somehow it just kept on going. The propeller guards are a big part of that. They make you more confident flying through tight spaces because small branches don't instantly destroy the props. The main thing I was worried about was the lenses. Because with a 360 camera, the lenses have to stick out to capture everything around the drone. So they're always going to be the vulnerable part. But the good news is, the lenses are replaceable. So if you end up scratching them, it's not the end of the drone. And that's a good thing because I'm definitely going to keep doing stupid stuff with it. I'm doing stupid stuff. But at this point, I was starting to realize how hard it was going to be to get that epic chase shot I'd imagined. Even when I wasn't crashing it, my piloting skills were so bad that I just couldn't keep up with Dean. Something needed to change. And this is where it all started to make sense. Instead of trying to chase close to Dean, I decided to make it easier on myself and find a straight line through the trees where the trail would crisscross underneath. That way I could focus on flying, avoiding trees, and keeping the drone alive. Then when I get home, I can simply reframe the 360-degree footage to follow Dean through the shot. And later that night, when I was reframing the footage, it finally clicked. With this drone, the flight path and the camera angle don't have to be the same thing. I didn't need to perfectly chase Dean down the trail like a normal FPV drone. I just needed to fly it in an interesting line through the trees, then choose the camera angle afterwards. And that completely changed my dream shot. The drone was flying one direction, while Dean was weaving back and forth across its path, allowing you to really get a feel for the trail. It felt way more dynamic than the original chase video I'd planned. This was the first step towards my final goal, but I realized I just captured a complex riding shot that would be almost impossible with any other single operator drone. Now that I understood that, I wanted to see how far I could push it. If the drone didn't have to follow the exact same line as a rider, what other shots could I get? So I headed to my local mountain bike park, Gravity Eden, to experiment on a variety of their trails. And with this shot, I could fly along beside the trail and focus on dodging trees. Glimpses of the riders entering the frame allowed me to adjust my speed and not go too fast. And after adding a few keyframes in DJI Studio, we end up with this dynamic shot that starts behind the riders, then shifts to fly along beside them. My next goal was to capture a buttery smooth cinematic shot, so I switched to 8K 60 frames per second. That allows me to slow down the footage to 50%, which helps smooth everything out. There is no way I would attempt a shot like that without the goggles and motion controller. My piloting was getting better, so I decided to head back to my trail with that big goal in mind. I wanted to capture my longest shot yet, chasing a rider down at least half of my trail. The shot would be almost a minute long and would require perfect timing and all the skills I'd learned over the previous couple of days. I got warmed up with a quick shot of Oliver on the seesaw into the roller coaster, and the bush is really dense here, so I pretty much had to follow the trail closely. With that shot in the bag, it was time for the big one. I had a couple of practice flights to work out my flight path and figure out the timing. And this was my third attempt at chasing Oliver down the trail. Ready! Now, you may be wondering how I record the sound of the bike because drones don't typically capture audio. I simply strapped an Action 6 to Oliver's chest and I'm using the audio from that. I'd planned a flight route through the trees that was relatively open, but still gave a decent view of the trail. And there are some sections where I need to speed up or slow down to wait for Oliver to catch up. But I slightly messed up the timing here and had to bail out around a tree at the last second so I didn't crash into him. With a regular drone, this shot would be ruined, but the 360 camera saves it. And this mistake ends up being one of my favorite moments in the video. Okay. Sick. Hopefully that looks mad. That's good. Let's take a look at that final shot. That has got to be one of the best shots of my backyard trail. This is the most fun I've had flying a drone in a long time. It's not perfect, the video quality isn't quite as sharp as some of DJI's other drones, especially in low light, and you can occasionally see the stitching. But for mountain biking, I think the creative possibilities of the 360 camera far outweigh the drop in quality, especially with the goggles and motion controller, because that's when you really unlock its full potential. I think my next challenge has to be a full top to bottom of my backyard trail. So if you want to see that, make sure you subscribe, and I'll catch you legends in the next video.